Well, Sydney Sweeney has come out and said some very, very good things. We put her as the polar opposite of Rachel Zegler. I'm sure we can all appreciate Sydney Sweeney's talent. There's two distinct assets that she has in the world of Hollywood. They are called her charm and her wit. But anyway, basically, just joking around. No, so she did this interview with the Vanity Fair, right? This interview's not that interesting. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's fine. The start of the interview was interesting, though, and I think that's actually really important to point out, right? So she's got this interview, and even at the very start of the interview, she's laying the framework. And I'm surprised. It's good that Vanity Fair published it all. But she's laying the framework that she knows that Vanity Fair mainstream media can twist all the crap around. So she literally says, we're going to have a conversation. We'll talk for 30 minutes. It's condensed. Then people don't understand the context behind the conversation, and it's all clickbait. Unfortunately, I don't get to control my image. My image is in your guys' hands. So that's like, can you imagine being mainstream media and starting an interview and she says that? Anyone you say says that, and anyone you're interviewing says that, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we're actually going to have to. Do you know what I mean? Like it's turning the spotlight on you. Like, oh yeah, we know what you're going to do. Like, no, we're going to have to do it properly this time. I'm going to keep an eye on this type of deal. I just thought it was really interesting to point out. I thought it was really good. Did you notice that?
Yeah, she's smart. She's smart. That's called being media cool and prepared. She has a good agent and publicist, and they probably work in concert. So they want her to have nothing but positive attention, and she has lots of things to make positive attention.
Yeah, definitely does. So what we're going to do? Oh, sorry, what's that? Image is in the way. Right, so
I apologize for that. It's my fault.
You shouldn't have put that there. I'm just gonna put it there from now on. But basically, the interview is not that important. Like, it's not that good. It's a fine interview. She comes across very likable. Like this, for instance, Anyone But You became a huge financial success after a soft opening, largely through word of mouth. Yeah, it was all because of the fans. I loved it. I felt like none of it was forced on the audience. They just fell in love with it themselves, and they shared that love with everybody. I love that the marketing came from them. Very likable reply. Humble. Very humble reply. Remember, this is a film that Sony didn't want to make. They didn't want to make Anyone But You. Yeah. She did Madam Web to get Anyone But You made.
Yeah.
And Anyone But You was a huge success, whereas obviously Madam Web clearly wasn't. And why?
But she was the only good thing about Madam Web.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
And not just because of the obvious, gentlemen. I'm saying that she really was. She wants to be a superhero.
Yeah. But anyway, just likable comment. That's nice. Yeah. But then we move down to the really interesting stuff, right? And we scroll through this. Oh, this was interesting. You hosted SNL this year. In your monologue, you focused on some of the headlines about you. What was it like to address everything and reclaim it in a comedic way? I had to push for a lot of it. So there's other reports where she's like, yeah, no, I had to push for all the like sex jokes about me and the boob jokes and things because they didn't want to do it. She was like, no, like 100% do it. Like 100% do it. So this just kind of reiterates that, to be honest, which is nice. Like it's good. Just goes to show that she's a good sport. She likes to have fun. I mean, she understands her sex appeal, and her sex appeal is important, right? We Hollywood and we, the audience, has understood sex appeal for decades, and then all of a sudden, the last 10 years, they're like, no, make everyone fat and gross and look like dykes. You're like, no, thanks. No, this is gross. This is rough to look at. I'm not interested in this shit. But Hollywood has literally survived on sex appeal. That's part and parcel of Hollywood. And then suddenly they've just like thrown out the window. Like, no, we want some like blind, I don't know, lesbians or some crap like that in there, some gay people. So this is just pointless. This is lame. Like, what are you doing? So that was good. That's fun. But this is the real clincher here. This spring, Your team fought back when a producer called your looks and talent into question. Anne Hathaway and Jennifer Lawrence have discussed the tendency to knock women performers down when they're at their professional peak. Why do you think that is? It's very disheartening to see women tear other women down, especially when women who are successful in other avenues of their industry see younger talent working really hard, hoping to achieve whatever dreams that they may have, and then trying to bash and discredit any work that they've done. This entire industry, all people say is women empowering other women. None of it's happening. She's talking about the entire Hollywood industry here. All of it is fake, an affront for all the other shit that they say behind everyone's backs. I mean, that is brutal.
No, it's honest.
I know, but she's got some balls to say that. Just some real balls to say that.
She's got some juice, dude. I mean, let's be honest. In Hollywood, as an up-and-coming female star, she's got juice. Probably even more so than Plank of Wood chick.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. So there's a little bit more here. So it says, I mean, there's so many studies and different opinions on the reasoning behind it. I've read that our entire lives we were raised, and it's a generational problem to believe only one woman can be at the top. There's one woman who can get the man. There's one woman who can be, I don't know, anything. So then all the others feel like they have to fight each other or take that one woman down instead of being like, let's all lift each other up. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying my best over here. Why am I getting attacked? Culture, do you want to talk very, very briefly about women tearing other women down whilst I just briefly do something?
You're good.
That would be great. Thanks very much.
Yeah. So look, the whole point here, and she's 100% right, because we've seen it happen consistently. You can only seem to have one female star in Hollywood at a time. Sandra Bullock would be an example, and she stayed there longer than a lot of ladies because she had some unique qualities like comedic delivery, in addition to good looks. She, for whatever reason, fit into that perfect stereotype of the America's sweetheart here in the States. And like I said, I mean, she could speak quietly. She looked very attractive, and she just was kind of every woman. She was the girl next door. Those kinds of traits, right? That Hollywood looks for. And there were many other women that certainly could have done some of the roles that she did, but at the time, and this is one of the problems that Hollywood has trouble with, they can't see outside of whatever the most recent successful box was, which is the same reason why we don't get more creative films and television shows out there at the same time. But while she was out there, there were many others that were competing for her spot. And some of them had to do things that maybe they wouldn't have done in their career, which, again, I don't think is a problem, but maybe they do now in retrospect, with showing a little more skin a little earlier in their life than they would have chose to. And, you know, you have Angelina Jolie and a few others that kind of really went aggressively into an area to try to break into Hollywood and get some of the roles that would keep them getting paid regularly. So it's not new. And this article actually refers to some studies and differences of opinions on the reasoning behind it. I've read that our entire lives we were raised, and this is the thing he just read, so I'll skip forward. They're trying to figure out, or she's trying to figure out, why that's the case. I'm just trying my best over here. Why am I getting attacked? This is the thing he just read, obviously. But like I said, what that really speaks to, in my opinion, is that she's coming across the same thing that every other woman since the beginning of, talkies, I would say. Maybe it even went back to the silent age. Ladies, there can be only one. It's like the Highlander, only maybe not as good. There are trying to think this year, how many breakaway female stars can you guys think of? We've got, let's see, Jenna Ortega, maybe. She's the only one right now that seems to be able to get consistent wind behind her back. Obviously, Sydney Sweeney herself, but that's who we're talking about. There are a few others, maybe just a handful. Certainly not Rachel Zegler, who we just finished a segment on. There just isn't a lot. And notice that they're really shying away from the paler complexion ladies out there now. And if they bring them in, they're usually much older. So I think Sydney's in a unique position. She's also fighting against a lot of, racism herself and perception problems. They really do like to hire what I would call lots of slag ladies out there. Let's see. Yeah, you have to go back a long, long way before you find like an ordinary woman, like Sigourney Weaver, who had exotic good looks at the time, but certainly wasn't stunning. Andy McDowell, you can go through, but notice how we can name like hundreds of male superstars, not necessarily even current celebrities, but over the years, lots of those. There just isn't many for females, and one of the reasons behind that is something different that we don't talk about very much, and that's the film industry is a male-dominated industry. Obviously, now not in terms of its production or any of that other stuff, but on who actually goes to consume films. There are very few genres that are appealing to ladies, stereotypically, whereas with something like westerns, superhero films, sci-fi, all of that, it's very much more male oriented. So again, you still have like, who's the audience for this? So that's why the prettier ladies, the younger ladies seem to be the it girls. And, you don't get to stay there very long. At least that's my opinion. Hey, good to see you.
Anna de Armas is another.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Gosh. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I'm actually looking forward very much to Ballerina, because the more I see of it, the more they.
I am. I think it's really, really good.
It's going to be amazing. Yes. I'm very stoked about that. But, some of the girls that I never got a chance was like Summer Glau, right? Outside of that television show she was in after the Firefly show and then the film Serenity. I just feel like she never kind of got what she needed to do, right? And then you have people that just seem to remain in Hollywood forever, like Lucy Liu. But you don't get very many of those. So,
no,
I don't know.
True.
Yeah, Carrie Ann Moss would have been, during her period of time, very attractive, in a unique way. But, she was tied really to a couple sets of projects, and that's all. And that's another problem, is if you're tied into a given role and nobody's going to be able to see you outside of that typecast, you're doomed too. I think that's something that happens more to women than men, Anyway, just a couple of thoughts.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we will shuffle on from this topic now, but hopefully you guys